And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan on this Martin Luther King Day, January 15th, 2024. And if you'd like additional weather information on top of what I give you in this YouTube video, you can go to weather.gov. And this is the National Weather Service's online presence. You can go and come upon this map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii and Alaska to the lower left, and little click tabs here for the territories, and it gives us a chance to kind of have an overview about what's going on in the lower 48. Boy, very active pattern. Big push of Arctic air has come down out of Alaska and northwest Canada, now pushing through the Midwest. We have winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories extending all the way from Maine down through the Tennessee Valley into the deep south, including parts of Mississippi and Louisiana. In the cold air, just sub-zero air temperatures and wind chills. We have wind chill advisories and wind chill warnings and warnings for excessive cold, all here throughout the Midwest, from Chicago, lower Michigan, westward across much of the plains. Dickinson, North Dakota was 33 below zero this morning with a wind chill of 70 below, and we have winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings in effect for areas of the interior Northwest. But here in Alaska, we've had another storm over the weekend. It is currently working its way across eastern Russia up into the Chukchi Sea. That system with its front is pushing inland now and will continue to do so north and eastward across the western, central, northern portions of the state. There still could be some minor coastal flooding and an ice push possible along some of the shoreline with those stronger winds and the coinciding there with some higher tides. So be aware of that at least through Tuesday morning. And then heavy snow, that's another story. The Panhandle has had, especially the northern Panhandle, has had a prolonged snow event here over this weekend into Monday. And Juneau area is working on 2 feet of snow as of this recording. They may end up with a bit more than that, but overall snow will diminish across the Panhandle tonight with clearing skies on Tuesday, and then we're going to see some strong winds develop. High wind watches for Thompson Pass and Valdez later Tuesday night and on Wednesday. Matanuska Valley around Palmer could also see some strong wind gusts, perhaps 50, 60 miles an hour in that time frame. And another round of stronger outflow gap winds could set up for this weekend. So this is just the first one coming for the midweek. Looking at a few of the FAA webcams, Point Hope, blowing snow 28 degrees. You can see that blowing snow in the image. Just north of there, though, Cape Lisburne recorded a wind gust of 101 miles an hour, and their temperature has risen above freezing because of the downslope southeasterly winds. So their temperature has been up to 36 degrees. Anchorage is experiencing some freezing fog. It's been kind of coming and going throughout the morning and afternoon. Temperature at 19. Dense fog advisory remains in effect through Tuesday morning for the Anchorage Bowl area, as we expect more fog to kind of drift in and out of there at times. Now, Palmer is enjoying mostly sunny skies, early afternoon temperature at 14, but you're going to see stronger winds develop there for midweek, especially as we get into later Tuesday night and on Wednesday, and then we could see those winds again over the weekend. And then finally, Skagway, snow and fog, 32 degrees, but some of the heaviest snow has fallen in the vicinity of Juneau, as I mentioned, working on 2 feet of snow over the last few days, but the snow will begin to diminish across the Panhandle as we go through later tonight and certainly on Tuesday. But still, winter storm warnings through 9 p.m. encompass the inner channels, intercoastal mountains in the areas of Juneau on up through Skagway, Haines. Winter weather advisories Wrangell down through Ketchikan, Metlakatla. Snowfall amounts here not as heavy, but some of the heaviest snowfall has been right in and around Juneau. Now, Juneau Forecast Office saw a social media report as much as 30 inches of snow on the west side of Juneau, so significant storm for them. We still have the dense fog advisory in effect for the western Kenai Anchorage Bowl area that will go through tonight into Tuesday morning, and then all kinds of advisories and warnings out here in the west, north, and central. First, let's tackle these here. This area, this block of red, is winter storm warnings for winds, gusty winds, blowing snow associated, and even a little bit of a mix with the front that's now pushing inland. These advisories will expire early on Tuesday, and Then inland, we have winter weather advisory. Now, these winter weather advisories for the lower Yukon Delta eastward to McGrath, lighter snow amounts and conditions. Again, the area of heavier snow here is going to begin to break up, become more areas of light to moderate snow as it crosses the central interior on Tuesday. So the areas along the Alaska Range and especially northward up through the Tanana Valley, in and around Fairbanks, the Dalton Highway, and even going up through Anatuvik Pass and on up toward Dead Horse. Those areas there could pick up some light to moderate snow with blowing snow beginning later tonight, and especially on Tuesday. Now, the area along the Arctic coast still has blizzard warnings for blowing and drifting snow, and that'll be the case continuing into the day on Tuesday. So a lot going on, and then a high wind watch for Valdez and Thompson Pass. That would be later Tuesday night into Wednesday. Some wind gusts like through Thompson Pass could reach 75 miles an hour. The uninhabited region, the delta of the Copper River, could see wind gusts up around 100 miles an hour in that kind of setup. So I can show that to you a little better once we get to the surface weather map. But on the satellite imagery, this is the area of cloud cover and snow that's now falling over the Panhandle, especially in through the inner channels. This is going to begin to drift southeastward and will be gradually diminishing as we go through tonight and early Tuesday morning. Back to the west, here's the front, the precipitation associated with the front pushing toward McGrath. We have a middle Yukon River, and then areas up here along the western half of the Brooks Range, along the northwest Arctic coast, Kotzebue, Kivalina. These areas all getting socked by wind. The actual low center is up in this area entering the Chukchi Sea. And we look at the surface pressure now. It's at 986. It's not an especially deep low, but it is a windy system, and that low will continue lifting northeastward up into the Arctic Ocean as we go through later tonight. We have a ridge of high pressure that extends center of it right over the Yukon, with a ridge extending into the Alaska Peninsula and then off to the east. Here's the remnants, the low that's provided the moisture for the prolonged snow event for areas of the Panhandle, but again, that'll be diminishing later tonight as that begins to weaken, heads off to the south and east. The front, as it works its way inland, will begin to weaken to become more or less transition to a trough by the time we get into Tuesday afternoon. The southern end of the front will begin to wash out. And then we are going to have established a pretty strong ridge of high pressure from the eastern Bering across south central into northwest Canada. And if we go into Tuesday, we have two pretty strong centers, one up near 1040 millibars over the Yukon Northwest Territories, and then this one entering the lower Yukon. And that'll be a dominant high here as we go through midweek. The system, what's left of the fronts and that, continue to just kind of weaken off to the east there. But as we go into Wednesday, we have this strong ridge of high pressure centered near the Alcan border. And it's going to have a central pressure up around 1047, 1050 millibars. We have a weaker low off to the south here in the lower Gulf, not a strong low by any means, but that's going to cause the pressure gradient to really tighten over the northern Panhandle, southeast interior around McGrath, and then McCarthy, and then on over through Thompson Pass, Valdez, the Copper River Delta. You're going to get strong east-northeast winds flowing from the result of this pressure gradient, and that's going to set up the potential for those high winds. And again, we'll likely see a repeat of that this weekend. So Tuesday, morning lows below freezing here, inner channels, Wrangell on up toward, all the way up there toward the Canadian border, getting down probably in the upper teens. Copper River Basin, 8 below there at Glen Ellen, 12 above in Anchorage with some areas of dense freezing fog. And then Tuesday afternoon, we'll try to get temperatures back up near 20, Anchorage area, staying only around 2 above there in the Copper River Basin. And then here, outer Panhandle, we'll get some temperatures, 38 at Craig, 36 at Sitka and Ketchikan, 30-ish in Juneau. So have fun digging out of that most significant snowfall so far this winter for the folks in Juneau. And then off across the Copper River Basin Wednesday morning, 5 below. And that's when the winds are going to pick up on Wednesday. We expect very strong northeast winds here down along Thompson Pass, Valdez, the Copper River Delta. And those winds will also be pretty gusty there through the lower Mat-Su Valley Around Palmer, could see wind gusts as high as 50, 60 miles an hour as that pressure gradient really tightens up there. Now, in the far north, coldest readings will be here across the Yukon. Flats, some areas could get below 20 below, but not especially cold for this time of year. Notice that front did bring in some milder air up the lower middle Yukon Valley, so lows generally around or above 20. And we've even seen, as of today, we've had temperatures above freezing along the Seward Peninsula coastline and even as far north as Cape Lisburne. But we are seeing that modified air push inland, with not as mild as it was when it initially came on shore, but still fairly mild. And then Wednesday morning lows, still some sub-zero readings, especially along on the south side of the Brooks Range, along the Alcan border, along the Arctic coastline, a bit below zero. And then daytime highs, single digits above and below zero here across much of the central, northeast interior to the Alcan border. And then temperatures in the teens along the northwest coast to near 20. So again, not especially cold for what it could be this time of year, though there's going to be a bit of a change coming, I think, as we head past the next week. Looking at the southwest interior, Tuesday morning lows in the 20s, back up around and above freezing as we extend out through the Aleutians. And then Tuesday afternoon, those temperatures are going to be up around 30, Bethel, so, you know, relatively mild speaking, but that high building in, that could lead to colder nighttime temperatures as long as you don't fog in. Otherwise, you're going to have issues with freezing fog developing with that high as it builds overhead here Tuesday night into Wednesday. And we do expect colder temperatures Wednesday morning. If skies stay predominantly clear in this area, I would expect readings to even be down near or below zero, so it could be colder than what's indicated here now. You'll find temperatures, though, in above freezing there in the Aleutians, and they'll be back up into the lower 40s at Dutch Harbor, west toward Adak. But daytime highs only in the teens, even some single digits as you go up the Yukon River. And then looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, this is a change. We're anticipating a cool down across much of the mainland, with the coldest temperatures January 21st through the 25th expected to average below normal through the southwest, including the Alaska Peninsula. That would include Bethel, Dillingham, King Salmon, Sand Point. Notice temperatures may be a little bit above normal, the southern portion of the Panhandle. And then precipitation, it's going to stay above normal precipitation here in the southeast, the Panhandle, southeast corner of the mainland, but perhaps some colder, drier air setting up here in the west for a change. So instead of getting these moist systems coming in off the Bering with these lows and fronts, we may see high pressure and some drier weather and colder temperatures. So keep that in mind here as we round out near the end of the month there, centered on January 23rd.